Doubts have been raised about whether either the Coalition or Labor can deliver a surplus as promised in 5 years' time. Today, the government focused on Labor's admission its deficits would be deeper. Here's Greg Jennett.
The fight for economic credibility takes not one, but two plans to get to exactly the same budget destination, a surplus in 5 years.
It's very clear how we get there.
Sees our budget return to balance at exactly the same time, whether you have a Liberal government or a Labor government.
They share the same goal but don't agree how to get there. Between now and the surplus year lies $84 billion worth of deficits. Now, in the name of honesty, Labor's promising to drive those deficits deeper. How deep, we don't know, but it carries risk because debt goes up.
I've called it out. I've been honest and said I think the AAA rating is under threat.
And because it invites an obvious response.
If you vote Labor at this election, they will give you higher deficits and they will give you a higher debt.
If you vote Liberal, there are risks you'll end up with higher deficits and debt too. Those deficit columns will be much longer if the Coalition wins and the next Senate refuses to pass what Labor calls zombie cuts, savings like family tax benefit changes and making young people wait a month for the dole. The Coalition's banking on them being passed. All up, they're worth $18 billion.
For the government to assume that those $18 billion of measures will pass is fiscal recklessness.
And if the red ink over 4 years seems overwhelming, what about 10? Other than its $48 billion company tax cuts, the government doesn't even publish costings over a decade, whereas Labor's relying on them.
We've made the tough decisions. I mean, we didn't choose to reform negative gearing for fun. We didn't think it would be popular.
Labor are making promises in this election with money that just isn't there.
So Bill Shorten's gambling that a dose of deficit honesty in the short term will buy Labor some credit beyond the next election. That's after this one. The numbers will be argued all the way up to polling day. But it's worth noting neither side will guarantee they'll actually deliver the surplus when their projections say they will.